Good morning, everyone. Good morning and welcome to the session. As you walk in, please take a look at the cards that are on the table. They're all different cards with some topics. So please identify the topics that you are most interested in or you are more expert in and sit at a table that resonates with you. So each table has different cards. So just take a look and choose what you prefer to discuss today. Thanks.
Hi, Richard. Aaron Caroline. Hi. I'm Andrew. I've seen you in some of the YGL things. Yes. Hi, I'm Noah. Hi, Thomas. How's it going? Genau, ich muss ein bisschen
Otherwise, there's a lot of cooperation. And there's also climate, the reserve is
Clicker.
Oh, yeah, thanks.
Clicker.
Perfect.
And this is, I would say, you make an announcement, say please sit down.
Yeah.
So it takes another 2 minutes. Not
Yeah,
that we
exactly,
already-
exactly. Let me just drop this. I will make, of course, the announcement for you in the beginning, and you can stand up and say.
Just show the first round.
Yeah.
10-second thing. So just
Okay,
so they see.
okay. And then at the end we get back to it. And are you coordinating with the guy to switch?
Tyler.
Oh, sorry. Sorry. Okay, I'm gonna put this here. Then you only wear green cars. But for you, with the helicopters, space stuff is a good match. We couldn't put topics that appeal to everyone.
No, of course, I know. I mean, I'm here for the leadership side. To support you, of course.
Thank you so much. I think I'm going to move this banner because it's kind of...
Do you need a hat?
Hello there. Can I join you? Peter. Peter Banner.
Okay. Start. Good morning, everyone. If I may ask you to please take your seats. Thank you. Welcome, everyone. We're so happy to see you all here to the GESDA session at Intent. My name is Marga Soler. I'm the Executive Director of Capacity and Leadership at GESDA. And today we're here to explore what it means to lead in a future accelerated by science and technology, marked by geopolitical fragmentations, strains and pressures on the multilateral system, and all of the narratives that we're hearing in Davos this week. We hope and we think this is going to be a bit of a different session for you. We have 2 hours together. We encourage you to stay until the end. First hour will be a panel. We'll introduce you to GESDA, and so you can learn more about what we do for those that don't know us. And in the second part, we're going to immerse you in the GESDA anticipatory experience. And so I will not say more because I want to keep the intrigue. And we'll start by an official welcome by our GESDA Director General. Before that, I'm getting a sign from Ole, yes? Before that, two housekeeping announcements. One is that we have photography. I think you all, by signing up, agreed to be photographed. If not, let us know. And the second is that this session is going to be visually recorded in a very cool way, so we can all have an output. And Ole is here to support us with that, so if you want to...
Yeah, so when we're talking about complexities, then what you'll see up there is a draft sketch of a future landscape into the future and what we'll be working on. I'll try to map some of things, but you'll also be invited to put in digital footprints and digital cues into it, so that we, at the end, can take a zoom out and see what's the complexity of this system, this conversation today.
Exactly. Thank you, Ole. So hopefully you woke up with something tangible and not just a thank you for coming and you never hear from us again. So without further ado, let me introduce for our formal welcome Professor Malin Andersen, our Director General of GESDA.
Thank you very much, Marga. And a very warm thank you and welcome to this session. Thank you for being here, for contributing. This is going to be a playful work session, so be prepared not to be passive or listening, but to be active and contributing, which we very much look forward to. We really need all of your inputs. Welcome in the name of GESDA, that I have the pleasure of directing since a few months. I joined last April. And so for those who are not familiar with the foundation, it's a foundation that was initiated by the Department of Foreign Affairs in Switzerland to anticipate what science has in its drawers in the future and use that as an opportunity to prepare ourselves for the transformations ahead of us. So it is a foundation. We are about 30 people, so quite modest, but the idea is to bridge between the knowledge of scientific breakthroughs and decision-making, notably in the diplomacy sphere or government and political. But actually this extends also to the business sphere, policy making more broadly speaking, the civil society, and scientists and science institutions as well. So the idea is really to take advantage of the knowledge of what is coming up. I won't speak in detail about how we do this anticipation, because this is going to be carried by our board member and chair of the Science Forum, Michael Hengartner. Just in a nutshell, in terms of how we want to use it, is we work with scientists all over the world to not base our work on the hype or on what is published, what is on the internet, what artificial intelligence could grab and tell us what is coming, but rather to work directly with the scientists themselves to see what they think is coming in the next 5, 10, 25 years, and therefore have sort of a grounding in a rigorous method that is coming out of the imagination and the sort of the perspective minds of these scientists without looking at what is sensational and therefore makes the news. So this is, in a nutshell, the method, but Michael will tell us more about it. How we try to differentiate ourselves from a foresight think tank is by this topical expertise, and also by the fact that we try to make this actionable. We try to use that information to drive action. And this might be done maybe at 2 levels. One is the one that we are going to experience firsthand here today, which is how to acquire or start to acquire an anticipatory mindset, how to make decisions that are informed by this upcoming changes, transformations of the world. And the other is by initiating some projects, initiatives, where we actually bring different stakeholders around the table to think about what governance frameworks, what cooperation models, how we can work together across different sectors to prepare, to sort of tangibly, concretely prepare for the changes ahead. We know that institutions are to some extent slow. We have noticed that science advances are faster and faster and accelerated by AI. So in these transformative domains like AI, quantum, neurotech, synthetic biology, all of the topics that you actually have on your tables, the idea is to take advantage of the very precious window of opportunity that we have between now that we know it's coming, we know, and tomorrow when it will be there and it will be transformative. So to prepare, we have to give ourselves the agency of acting now, so that we are not in catch-up mode, we are not in crisis mode. And so, so this is precisely why we wanted to gather you all today, is to experience this anticipatory mindset, this anticipatory leadership approach, and in the hope that you might also help us scale it to a broader range and reach. We are very fortunate to benefit from the support of the Wellcome Trust in this endeavor, who are accompanying us and co-creating with us this training framework, both from Switzerland but all over the world. We have had the opportunity to be present in actually on all 5 continents with business schools and other programs to test how this training framework can adapt and can be curated for different audiences. So it's a pleasure to have you all here. Thank you so much for being here. And with that, I would like to pass the word to Michael Hengartner, president of the ETH board and board member of GESDA. Thank you very much for your attention.
Good morning, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for joining us for the next 2 hours. I've been given 10 minutes to introduce to you what we do and how we do it. That's a challenge, but I like challenges, so let's start. So you heard it very well from Marilyn, that the basis of for GESDA and why we exist is the realization that science and technology is accelerating More and more is happening at speeds, and it seems like we're always surprised by the next development. Oh my God, AI is here. Well, you know what? The expert, they knew AI was coming. They couldn't say it's going to be November 22 that LLMs will appear on the scene. But most of technological development, most of scientific development is actually a progressive science. And so experts in their field have a fairly good feeling for what's going on, at least in the short to medium term. And so the idea was, could we collect this expert knowledge and make a collection of potential future so that we can then be on top of the game rather than always be running after the ball? So as Wayne Gretzky, one of my hockey idols, said, to skate to where the puck will be rather than to skate where the puck is now. All right, so this is what we have done. And together with thousands of scientists, we have, well, go back. I'm telling you this. But if I cannot even control a remote. No. At the quantum level, everything's reversible. Adiabatic. Very good. So this is the product we have. We call it the Science Breakthrough Radar. There's two ways to access it. The better way is online. Radar.GESDA.global. If you're old-fashioned, there's this fantastic coffee table book, which some people love. Take a coffee, look at a few pages, but the digital version is interlinked and, of course, is, for digital natives, perhaps better. We have 40 themes, so we cannot predict everything. There's some things that will be surprising, that you cannot predict, some black swans, but much what we have in the natural sciences, in the technologies, even social sciences, we've been able to collect together with experts. So what we did is we found over 2,000 experts, and in each expert group we asked them, can you discuss and give us an idea what could happen in the next 5 years, the next 10 years, the next 25 years? The next 5 years is easy. Everybody writes a grant and says, at the end of my grant, in 5 years, this is where we're going to be with my science. 10 years is already more challenging. 25 years, you need to train them. You really need to get them into that mode because it's not something we tend to do. Even we scientists, we're much more in the close term than the large term. But it's doable, and I'll show you how we do it. You see here, it looks like a radar. That's intentional. The topics, you also see that there's some kind of metric. We call this the anticipation potential. There's some developments where you see, yeah, that's okay, that's nice. And then some developments where you say, whoa, well, that might actually have a big impact on us, either as individuals, as societies, or even as a planet. And from these, then, there's some where it would make really sense to start a discussion now rather than waiting for it to be there. And so that's the anticipation potential. Where are the topics where it really would help to take advantage of the time we have between now and then? So between today and tomorrow, in the virtual sense of the word, as Mel said. All right, so what does this look like? This is what the radar is. We have actually real people behind these. We have workshops. We bring these people together. Wisdom of the crowd. Every single scientist, of course, has his or her biases. What we try is to get experts together, bounce ideas of each other so they actually build on each other, but they also average out. So at the end, what we have is a near consensus of what might happen. Again, this is what likely will happen. We cannot predict the future, but we can anticipate. We can say, if this is what could happen, this is what we can do now. And so we want to take advantage of knowing what could happen to be able to have actionable steps taken today. So each of these dots then is divided into subgroups. Here, for example, advanced AI. So we have deep machine learning, multimodal AI, intelligent devices, alternative AI. And for each of these subsets, again, then we have a short paragraph of what could happen in the next 5, the next 10, the next 25 years. At this level, within the radar, we try to be agnostic. Each of these developments has positive potentials, might also have negative potentials. We try not to judge. We simply say, this is the technology, and this is what might happen, or what it could be used for. So we're not trying to decide whether it's good or bad, because scientists also are, first, bad at predicting what is good and bad. We're hopelessly optimistic about every technological development, particularly if it's in our own field. And second, decisions about what we do with technology is not something scientists should do. This is something everybody needs to do together. Again, with NGOs, with society, with government, with policymakers. And so the next steps, and this is what we're going to discuss later, is how to use this knowledge in more depth. So there's a huge amount of data here. We're not going to be able to get through it. And it's only as useful as what you do out of it. And so what we'll try today is to take a few of these dots and simply play a little bit and discuss what could happen and what will we do about it. And this is exactly what we do with policymakers. We come and say, what are the topics you are interested in, and what are the steps that you could, as a government, as an NGO, as a civil society, do to address these issues, either to maximize the good or to minimize the potential side effects that come with each technology. So, which 8 dots do we have? Just very briefly, some of you will discuss autonomous discovery systems, so future of Gen AI. Others will do quantum computing. Third group, neurotechnology, cognitive enhancement, so brain-computer interface. Synthetic biology, I'm a biologist, so I find this very exciting. Slightly scary, but very exciting. And then for more, climate geoengineering. What could we do to control the climate using engineering solutions? An interesting but extremely debated topic. Ecology, modified and artificial intelligence. Can we augment ecology? Can we use an ecosystem like we modify an individual, genetic engineering, but at the ecology, at the ecosystem level? Also there, what are the consequences, positive or negative, for doing that? Future food systems, engineering crop and livestock. We've been doing it individually. Individual crops have been engineered, improved. Again, can we go whole system? And then finally, orbital environment, also a hot topic. We're more and more putting stuff into space. What's going to happen there? Also, who does it belong to? How will that be governed? Very interesting but challenging topics. So this is what it is. You're already set at tables. So by sitting somewhere, you're actually committed to a discussion. Welcome to that discussion. And with this, I give back to Maga. I wish you a great morning. I've done this twice now. It's been extremely stimulating. You go out of this room with a bigger head than you came in. Merci.
Thank you so much, Michael. For being such a great champion for GESDA and all the work you do, and for keeping in time, literally exactly 10 minutes, very Swiss. So before we launch you into this and to dive you, to throw you deep into the topics that might be a bit daunting, we're going to unpack this a little bit more with the stellar panel. So let's have a bit of a conversation, and then you'll be warm up and ready for your discussions and your anticipatory decisions. So it is my pleasure to welcome to the very tight stage. This is Davos, after all. We have Andrew McLaughlin, the COO of Sandbox AQ. We have Jennifer Byrne, the head of private sector engagement at AGRA, the Alliance for Green Revolution in Africa. We have Bettina Schaller, the head of public affairs at Adecco Group. Chris Ferguson, chief partnership officer at Apolitico. Vijay Mori, the head of strategic tech and academia initiatives at the International Telecommunications Union, ITU. And last but not least, Professor Thomas Roulet, the professor of organizational leadership at the Judge Business School at the University of Cambridge. Those that are arriving now, there are some tables in the back, so hopefully you all find your seat. And let me just transition the slide. Oh, it's already done. Thank you. Voila. Okay. So I'll try to climb up here. All right. Well, so thank you all so much for being here. Hope I can see you all through the end of this line. So you have already heard a little bit what GESDA is about and some of the topics that we are going to explore today. And all of you come from the different sectors, what we call GESDA communities, that we bring together in this anticipatory situation room that you will experience a little bit today. So you all represent the stakeholders that would typically be in our discussion room to talk about the science of the future and what we do about it today. So let's start with Andrew, if I can see you over there. So Andrew, you come from Sandbox AQ, which is a spin-out from Google. And you're working on, I think, pretty much every topic that has been mentioned, from Gen AI, quantum, drug development, material science, magnetic navigation. So you sit at the forefront of these innovations every day. But you also have had in your life 3 different hats. All of the other hats that we have here today. You were Deputy CTO at the White House with the Obama administration. You have been a professor in science and tech policy at different universities, and also you're very much engaged with civil society. So the first question, Andrew, is how do you, if you would collapse all your 4 hats, bringing together industry, academia, policy, and society, how would you advise us to leverage this window of anticipation between seeing that future that's here and taking the action in the present?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for throwing this event. I'm a great admirer of GESDA. It's a fantastic organization. I just want to stress, I was a deputy CTO in the Obama White House. I just feel that I need to clarify and emphasize that. Especially on this day. So anyway, the hardest part of my job. So I'm the chief operating officer of this company, which is doing quantitative AI. So it's not language models. It's physics-based AI. So AI that is fit for purpose for science problems. And kind of like the definition of what we're trying to do with that AI is to achieve trustworthy predictions for complex systems. And if you've ever used a language model for something like that, it's a total fail, right? Language models are not good for science. Like, you can't do math with them. They do not produce reliable outcomes. Frankly, using them in almost anything in science at the kind of core level is malpractice. It's just not a good tool. So we have to build new versions of AI. And a lot of what we do in the company is to take advanced science and then turn it into products. Like, I have to make money. We've raised almost $1 billion. That sounds impressive, but actually it's like super stressful because like you have to like turn that into revenues over time. And so the hardest part of my job is this anticipation of trying to figure out, when do I move something from the lab? In our case, it's a software lab, but to move it into productization and production. And the core skill set, and this is not telling anything new to anybody in this room, but the core skill set these days is interdisciplinary thinking. So the most important people in my company are computational physicists, computational biologists, computational chemists. And interestingly, just for those of you that are affiliated with ETH, let's say, there's this amazing band of universities that sort of starts in Vienna and goes through Innsbruck, Salzburg, Munich, into Zurich, that are like really, in many ways, like one of the most impressive collections of physics talent, chemistry talent, and are increasingly producing these kind of interdisciplinary people. But in every one of the roles that you mentioned, I find that I'm like just a little bit smarter and a little bit, or I would say a little bit less stupid, because having been in business and then taught for a while and then spent time in government and gone back into, anyway, every time, kind of like time you leap over a line or leap over a vertical, you're a little bit smarter than you were before. So anyway, I think that my own maybe contribution to the conversation is that as you staff up your organization, the magical skill sets are people that have been trained in science and computation, for me, business and politics, governance and technology, and as a kind of a piece of career advice, like the more that you can do that, the stronger you're likely to be.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Andrew, for this great start. Let's move to Jennifer. And so you work, Agrag works at the heart of agricultural transformation under climate pressures, but also technological revolution and innovation, right? So we just heard from Michael the possibility of engineering ecosystems in the future, of engineering the climate, of augmenting our systems from genome editing for drought-resistant crops to nanosensors for precision agriculture or synthetic biology to improve yields and food security. So how are you working with countries and your stakeholders to leverage these emerging breakthroughs? And what challenges are you finding in terms of governance, in terms of access, of equity, and of course, how do we maximize the benefits for all when we know that these technologies can also have some downsides or risks, like we have heard from Michael?
Thank you, and good morning, everybody. Great to have this conversation. As Agresh mentioned, we were set up 20 years ago by Kofi Annan with the vision to catalyze a green revolution in Africa. The green revolution happened in Asia, Latin America, and seemed to have skipped Africa. We evolved over 20 years, will be 20 years this year, because initially we very much focused on getting seed technology to farmers and building that infrastructure, realizing that when it comes to food, you have to touch the entire food system. So at this point in time, we're a food system convener, working with almost 30 million farmers we're reaching across Africa in 15 countries, but also looking at inclusive finance, working with governments, nutrition, etc. You need to almost push all the buttons in the elevator for it to move up. But, you know, we work with some of the most impoverished environments in sub-Saharan Africa. And what we've learned over these 20 years is that there's fantastic science and technology out there that is evolving, but unless you get the distribution model right, that brings it to the farmer, that makes it affordable, accessible, and appropriate, it will pass over our heads. So one of the things that we've been doing is really trying to build the infrastructure to cover the last mile towards the farm, away from the farm, by working with agro dealers, by convening, etc., and making that connectivity in the value chain happen. The second thing is really focusing on mitigating risk. And that really happens in our space through aggregation, whether it's farmers, whether it's agripreneurs, but also that interconnectivity in the value chain and bringing different actors together. And then you have the political risks of the enabling environment. How do you strengthen governments to be reactive? So we have been able to really introduce some fantastic technologies to our farmers, seed, crop protection, etc. We've worked on agtech, fintech models, but there was one learning, a critical one, 7 years ago. We have to take a step back and look really at the enabling environment of big data and technology in the context of Africa. Unless we get the legislative framework, the political will right, some of the infrastructure, think about energies. AI is fantastic. If you don't invest deep investments into the energy infrastructure in Africa, it will be a missed opportunity. So we realize that as a food system convener, we also have to step in some of these roles, connecting private sector to government in terms of strategizing and building some of these big political strategies and commitments around some of these topics. So those are some of the key learnings that we've had. Now we have the AI revolution coming up, and at the one hand, it's exciting, because for our farmers, the lack of information, the lack of predictability is a significant risk. Climate, soil health, connectivity to the market, connectivity to finance, and just advisory is where the revolution will happen. But once again, we need to get the infrastructure right, and we are going to play a critical role. And if I can just reflect, and from my own perspective, as a senior manager in this space, I'm also looking forward to AI and how it can resolve my day-to-day problems. You know, I'm not sure about you, but I still waste 50% of my time on bureaucracy. And I really would appreciate to spend it more engaging with you, talking with you, building partnerships, learning from you. So how can AI also change not just the people, it's a culture thing, we have to work on people, and we are also a trust builder in that space, but people, but also the decisions they make, how they make the decisions, and the information they make base their decision on. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer, for landing this so concretely for us. And if anyone wants to dive into this topic, look for the green cards on food systems. So, Jennifer, hopefully you can guide us in that part of the discussion. Let's now move to Bettina. So, with the mounting pressures that we see on the multilateral system and the spaces of dialogue and consensus for the trajectory of these technologies are shrinking. And so increasingly, we have heard from Andrew, the full cycle of innovation from basic discovery to commercialization happens inside the private sector, deep tech startups, big tech companies. So how what's the role or the new role and responsibility of the private sector in this new environment where businesses are becoming geopolitical actors and the influence sometimes exceeds the states? And so what happens when companies, where you sit and what do you see, what is the multilateral reconfiguration that needs to happen from your standpoint?
Thank you for this typical easy question on a Tuesday morning. And first of all, I wanted to maybe share that when I think it was 2.5 years ago, when I learned about GESDA, I literally had this adrenaline rush, right? And I mean, you always get approached, you hear about initiatives, but on this one, it was a shimmer of hope. Because the promise of having a future anticipated by science is exactly what I need as a private sector representative. And now, you alluded to the tech companies, and I'm by absolutely no means a representative of the tech sector, so allow me to take you for a few minutes into my world. So I'm with the Adecco Group, which is the world's largest talent and tech company. And I am at the group responsible for the government affairs. So I'm at this intersection of business and policy making. And for almost 20 years, I've been interacting with policymakers from that business perspective, bringing to them evidence about the labor market, evidence about how to bring people to jobs, evidence about how to create equal workforces, evidence about how to solve or maybe engage on a path to solve youth unemployment. Yet here we are in 2026, and we still have unacceptably high levels of youth unemployment, low rates of participation, notably of women. Actually, the numbers are going back. And that is despite the evidence that we as business, of course, but actually the science that we use as well, and that I bring to the policymakers, are bringing, again, on a nearly daily basis. And so I'm actually in an environment where anecdotal insights seem to be driving that policy-making process. I'm obviously, exaggerating to some stage, but this is what we hear about as well. And this is where this anticipation, this just being very stringent about the value, the role, and I know there's many scientists in this room, the work you do is unbelievably important. It allows us, again, from a business perspective, of course, to then, have that, as we know, neutral approach in order to, again, build systems, in my world, labor market systems. Now, just to come to the increasing role of business. Of course, business has been involved for years. I think the role has mainly been seen for years as financiers, donors, right? And that's probably also where the current discussion in the predominance of tech companies is. That's where a lot of the money is. I can say here that is not a big surprise. In the history of almost organizations, you've always had big private either companies or fortunes that have, influenced I guess, policy making, or obviously also influenced the path of where science should be going. So I don't find that per se shocking. I went back into some data around companies that have bigger resources than many countries around the world as well. Again, that's not new. I think the role today of business and technology, the AI piece, is just obviously I think, again, related to data. Who owns the data, actually? The data sovereignty piece, I think, is something we need to look at. And that's where I'm worried, because the shift is there on that one. And again, that's where I'm actually putting a lot of hope into GESDA as well.
Thank you for the tall order, Bettina. Thanks so much for sharing the insights. And of course, all of you come with decades of experience and now seeing the world shift. The perspective is very important to remember the past when we look at the future as well. Let's turn to Chris, because Chris comes from a previous life in government as a diplomat and policymaker, and now turned into a trainer.
Me too, by the way.
a trainer and a developer of talent in government to make sure that our policymakers and our diplomats don't react, but can proactively tackle the scientific innovations that are coming our way. So Chris, from all your hats, how do you see today the role of emerging technology when it comes to preparing policymakers and the governance frameworks and steering technology towards benefits and minimizing those risks that we have heard about?
Lovely, thank you. Thanks for having me here. I apologize for my government background. I hope you forgive me. Okay, I think I want to start by just saying, in government, you're very conscious as a senior leader that the future impinges upon the present. What I mean by that is that what can happen very much influences what does happen. And in government, that manifests often in leadership as risk management, as thinking about things from a risk-oriented point of view rather than an opportunity point of view. I led digital transformation in the UK government for a decade. It was very hard, lots of scars. This is not therapy, not yet. But that's something to understand. And you spoke about data there, Bettina. And the truth is, in government, data is often used to perfect hindsight. It's not used to create foresight. And that's why I love the radar. Because the more ways that data, sound, science-led data can be used to help, you've all heard of data-driven policy, I'm sure, but what data, from where, about what can help? So that's a big deal. And that's because in government, you are the buyer of technology, but you're also the policymaker, you're the regulator, and you also have to be an innovator. And you're innovating in extremely critical services that support people's livelihoods, that support whole industries, all that kind of thing. So it's genuinely difficult. This is the ex-official in me coming out. But it is a genuinely difficult thing. But digital and AI and other emerging technologies, they are horizontals. In a very vertical world. Defense is over there, education is over there. It's very, very difficult to make those things work. And just to give you one very quick applied example, when you're a senior official in a given government department trying to make a case, an investment case, for better technology to improve services, to improve policy and outcomes, it's very hard to do that because when you make that case to the Treasury, they sort of say, so what you're telling me is we spend a lot of money on new technology and in the end we have a service that basically does what it does today. And that's the reality of it. Yeah, we can digitize, but people can do that today, right? Yes, we can. So maybe we spend the money somewhere else. And that is the kind of everyday problem that officials face. So where does apolitical come into that? Well, we train 40 million government officials worldwide. That's about 20% of the civil servant population. And we work with 170 governments at scale. And I'd say the key thing you need to get officials on side all over the world is confidence. And I'm not entirely sure what the components of confidence are, but trust, knowledge, understanding definitely are part of them. And if you have confident officials who know, they will never know as much as the people in this room. I do not know as much as the people in this room. That doesn't matter. If they have the confidence that they know how to ask the right questions, how to shape the right cases, then they can make a real difference. And that confidence flows from high-quality education, from high-quality data sources like the radar.
Great, thank you so much, Chris. I think you're too humble and you haven't mentioned that you've trained 40 million policymakers in quantum and AI so far. We'll hear more about that in the second round. So thanks so much for this work and to being at the forefront of how do we bring them up to speed and we prepare governments and societies for what's coming. So let's zoom out now to the top of the multilateral system. So we have Vijay with the International Telecommunications Union, and your task is to come up with the consensus in terms of standards for AI, for quantum, for 6G, so for what's coming. So on the one hand, you need to stay ahead and know what's coming, but then you need to gather all your member states and have them agree on how we're going to govern this. But also, you see now the influence of the new actors in terms of business and private sector, but also academia and research. So how do you bring together these new multi-stakeholder constellations, and how does ITU keep up with the pressures of the multilateral system today?
Thank you very much, and good morning, everyone. So maybe for those who do not know about the ITU, maybe let me just start by saying, the ITU, first of all, is a UN specialized agency for telecommunications and ICTs. Our membership is also a bit unique compared to other UN organizations. So we have, in addition to 193 member states, we also have about 1,000 private sector companies from the tech side who are members in the ITU, and also over 200 academia members as well in the ITU. In addition, we also have a number of international organizations and also intergovernmental bodies who participate as observers in the work of the standards development that takes place in the ITU. So our standards, once they are developed in the ITU, they become international standards, and it's recognized by all the governments in the world. One of the things that we see with emerging technologies, the development of these, these new technologies, they may be happening elsewhere outside our membership. And one of the mechanisms that ITU has developed is to set up, and this is unique in the Standardization Bureau in the ITU, where we set up focus groups on specific technology areas, like it could be 6G, it could be like, for example, currently we're working on setting up one on embodied AI. And for what differentiates the focus group from the current standards groups that we have is that it's open to anyone. So not only members in ITU, but it's also open to other organizations who are not members in ITU. So it also has a very short period of time it's active. It's open for 1 year, and within 1 year it has to complete its activities and propose a recommendation in terms of either specification. It doesn't develop standards. It will propose technical reports or technical specifications that could then lead to new standards in the ITU. The other area that we focus on is around AI impact. How do we show, how AI is actually addressing global challenges? And here we try to work with all the stakeholders through the AI for Good platform that we have with over 50 UN agencies. And we also work, through the AI for Good. It's actually more than a summit, because we also have the governance dialogue that takes place, where the member states participate, heads of states, regulators, policymakers, and all those like civil society as well participate in those discussions. The other aspect we're looking at is also on skills development, skills and capacity building, which is going to be very, very important in the AI world. We are seeing now people, the skill sets that we need is going to change over time, because people will need to work with AI systems. How will they interpret the data that they get from the AI system to ensure, that this is ethical and also trustworthy as well when they are validating those things. So at the level of the ITU, we organize, for example, we work with, so our standards, like I said, they are inclusive, so we work with various stakeholder groups. On our side, we try to also work with different age groups as well. So we have a lot of programs for the young people, like people in university or also at secondary level as well, through the AI Skills Coalition, where we are bringing AI training. So we have a partnership with private sector and also those training providers who have their own training AI courses, so that governments can easily access these courses. And then we organize regular competitions on robotics and also on AI challenges that help solve global challenges in the world. So through these application challenge, sometimes we also get a lot of good projects that come in. So for example, in the AI for machine learning for 5G, We had a number of good applications that made their way to the study group, and eventually we developed standards out of there. So through these different mechanisms, we try to engage not only with our membership, but also bring the other stakeholders to the table to ensure everyone is participating in this discussion. Thank you so much, Vijay. And the AI for Good conference is a very good one. Recommend that you check it out. And you have soon a Quantum for Good track. So keeping up with what's next. So that's wonderful. So speaking of skills and leadership, I think it's now time to turn to Professor Roulet. Thomas, you have just co-authored a new report, which is here. Let me see if I can, on the future of leadership, and you have found some very interesting insights in terms of a crisis of leadership that we are going through. Can you take us through what you found, and what can give us hope? What do we need to change in our leadership frameworks to be fit for the world that we are right now?
Thank you, Marga. Yeah, please do click and download the report. I promise you it's a great reading before a busy day in Davos to help you wind down. So, perfect reading. I can talk about a few things that are directly relevant to the work that GESDA is doing. So we run a poll to ask, leaders in the corporate, public policy sector, we ask them, what do you think are the crucial skills needed for leadership right now? And the 3 top skills that came up are first, and to our own surprise, because some of those are surprising. First one is moral compass, okay, so the ethics of leadership, and I think that is an important question. Michael, you were talking about climate engineering. That's something that is quite debated. So the question of what sort of ethical frameworks we take to think about moral decisions, to think about technology, is quite an important one. The second one was empathy and trust. So we need empathy and trust to understand how people are experiencing those technological changes. AI, yes, fantastic progress, but we know from research that it creates also social isolation, mental health issues in organization. It might create unemployment. It might create stress, fear, anxiety. So empathy and trust are needed to understand how those technological changes are affecting people. And the third skill that is mentioned in the report is storytelling for those technologies that have a crucial impact and can have a positive impact. We need to think about how we diffuse them, how we convince others that they are valid, robust, and attractive for society. Then we present a framework. So we're trying not to be prescriptive and saying leaders should do X or Y or Z, but we take a systemic lens, and we basically identify 4 levers that people should think about if they really want to influence positively leadership. The first one is the leadership pipeline. How do we select leaders that are representative? And you were talking about the problems. Oh, that's great. You even have the slide. I don't even need to come with a slide deck. That's fantastic.
We do it for you.
Anticipatory leadership. Beautiful, beautiful. I was going to mime it, as a good French person, I was going to mime the report. I don't even need to do it. That's fantastic. I could. Andrew, you are like tricking me now. So the first one is representativeness. And why is that important? One of the diagnosis issues we identify is an issue of trust. So the trust is that it's really at its lowest point. Trust towards government, trust towards academics, towards science. So the confidence of trust, the issue of trust, if you look at the last Edelman barometer that just got published in the last couple of days, one of the issues is that people don't trust people who are different from themselves. So the question of leadership representativeness is a crucial one. The second level we talk about is a level around training and leadership development, the skill sets, so the skills to understand those technological changes, and also the soft skills and the combination of those two. The third lever is decision-making, leadership decision-making. A lot of those technologies are useful to help people make decisions. Also think about longer-term incentives rather than short-term incentives. And the last lever we look at is around legacy. So very often leadership is, it's an individual question, and we don't think about what is left behind and how people are going to be able to lead after someone steps down. So that is another important element, is how do we create continuity across generations of leaders? And I think those 4 levels are quite important when we think about technological change, when we think about how we anticipate the future. So I think this is an interesting framework you might want to use in the next part of the workshop.
Thank you so much, Thomas. Exactly. So hopefully some of it or all of it will be helpful as you go into the discussions. I want to give just a small shout out to the community that I'm part of, and I'm very proud we have so many members here, the young global leaders of the World Economic Forum. If I can get your hands up, those of you who are YGLs. Great. So it's important, and those of you who have been part of the community in different ways, it's important because a lot of the insights that Thomas captured in the report are coming from this community. So this is what gives us hope, and I'm really, really proud of this work. And thank you, Thomas, for capturing this and really shining that hope that also Bettina was talking about. So we are here to provide hope. I think anticipation can provide agency in the face of uncertainty, and we are in a particularly difficult time right now in that sense. So let's go we have little time left, but I would like to go for another quick round of reactions to basically round up the conversations in terms of are we having so what's our biggest strategic blind spot? Let's put it that way. Are governments and companies reacting too late to technological power, or are we reacting or are we acting too early without the right governance? And so where do we find that balance? And from each of your sectors, what is one thing that you can suggest or you can recommend for us to take today? And let's start again with Andrew and work our way back.
So I think a massive blind spot right now is around governance, and both of the things that you said are true. We are both too slow and we are too quick. Like just to give you one example, so the kind of work that we're doing that I hope will be positive is trying to design drugs and things at the molecular level to tackle disease or improve herbicides or whatever. The problem is all of these techniques are equally valuable to develop pathogens, to develop poisons, to design weapons, basically. And so, if you think in the most dire circumstance about the diffusion of gene editing technologies like CRISPR-Cas9 and the ability to use AI to actually figure out what you should be doing with those tools to do harm, anyway, we're moving into a world that can be quite scary. And so at the governance level right now, we see both like knee-jerk reactions to try to apply regulatory frameworks, and we also see a massive amount of paralysis and inaction on the governance side. And so, this is, again, to kind of like say the obvious, but governments, regulators, academics, civil society organizations, people in companies have to actually take the governance stuff seriously. Or just as humans, we are asking for a tremendous amount of like risk at minimum. In the way that these technologies unfold. So anyway, how do you do that when governments are either actively purging scientific talent, purging policy-making capabilities on the one hand, or jumping in and trying to apply old and poorly designed frameworks to these new technologies without really understanding how they work or what they're capable of? I mean, that's happening all over the world right now. So my pitch is no matter which part of the world that you come from, geographically or in terms of your professional expertise, we have to take the governance seriously even as we're building these things, or we will be asking for a much more difficult future than we want.
I have a microphone. Yes, thank you. A very insightful conversations. I'm making notes like crazy. Partly also because, as Agra, we're 20 years old. We also want to look forward and reflect on what is the role that we should play and how should that change, maybe even revolutionize in the context of some of the dynamics. So very much listening to what everybody's bringing to the table. So I'd like to add we're too slow, we're also too quick, but we're definitely too fragmented. especially for the solutions that we require on the continent. Just think about soil health and soil health data. If that is held by 15 companies, 13 institutions, we'll never bring the solutions at scale to the ground that we really need, and at the cost level and appropriateness. So really, that issue of fragmentation is both in the space of governance, as well as how do we create a pre-competitive space for some of this governance actually to take place. And everybody needs to play a role in that. Governments themselves need to be prepared. The private sector needs to look for models and willingness to basically operate in a pre-competitive space, and also actors like ourselves cannot just be reactive. We have to actively shape and work with institutions, for example, like ITU, to make sure that that space basically happens. And I'd also like to flag something else that you brought to the table, and I'm so happy that you're here. I'll say it once again. Especially when it comes to agriculture, in the end, it comes down to a few variables that are very difficult to control. People, the decisions they make, and the information they base their decision on. So if we're not working on that cultural aspect, leadership models, etc., we're only just postponing some of these challenges to the future. Thank you.
Yeah, let me see. As business, and I've been thinking about how to lay this out. We're in a situation where I think we live in, I don't know if there's various speeds. And the thinking here is that, look, there's an agenda by business to reduce and simplify regulation, right? To obviously get rid of burdensome regulatory cost heavy regulatory pieces. And why I was trying to think in the beginning is, this is of course regulation that is actually built on how the Second World War world was built, right? And I think it is important indeed to, from a business perspective, well, clean up that part. The issue we have is that this cleaning up part gets mixed up with the absolute requirement, I believe, that we have in the world that we're looking to build to rely on regulation. So to rely on guardrails that needs to be also put on businesses. And here again, I'm not the tech representative, but I happen to again be in the employment industry where, well, we ourselves also produce technology that obviously affects workers on a daily basis. You know, there's big discussions right now around algorithms, who should be involved in building those. And therefore, we need regulation in that space. And again, that regulation needs to be based on facts, science, and also a longer term perspective, just thinking about what the impact is of what we're building today. So if you may, and I hope that I'm getting my point across, we're in this in-between phases business because we're calling for deregulation on the one hand of a world that is just not fit for future, and at the same time, we have to be future oriented, and in that space, we need the regulations.
So listening to my colleagues up here, we're talking a lot about different speeds, the way things are moving. And I think the real innovation that's needed is not so much about the next technology. There will be another AI now, quantum coming over the hill. There'll be something after that as well. I think it's probably the ability to, in a sensible way, segment the governance so that some things can move at real speed. You know, we can determine what kind of things can be self-regulated and what kind of things do need kind of deep cooperation to determine and figure out. In my head, that's turning into sort of the gears on a bike, where you have kind of the small gears turn very quickly and develop a lot of power. The larger gears turn more slowly, instead of a one-size-fits-all approach, you know, in something that's as complex and sort of there's an ecosystem here. So I think the real innovation is as much on the technology side is on the governance side and on how we construct something that works, because people will disengage or engage performatively with governance unless it's working for all the parties. So I think that's the innovation that we need.
Yes, I think on my side, what I will say is I think AI has the potential to serve humanity. You know? And they are basically, you know, if we look at this, like how AI is going to serve humanity, first of all, it has to be able to improve people's lives. Yeah. Not only improve people's lives, but also people have to feel safe and secure when they're interacting with an AI system. I think from this premise, this is where all the governance, the policies around AI, and even the standards work that's happening around AI is how you make AI solve global challenges, how will it serve humanity in the future, and also how people will interact with those systems. One issue that we have on the governance side is at the moment we don't have, let's say, a good way of assessing AI systems. Yeah. So currently, if you look at an AI system, like all those frontier AI models, it's like when you go to buy, I'm just making a very deep and very brief analogy here, very high-level analogy. It's like when you go to buy a car, you'd expect to know, okay, how fast this car goes, how much fuel, if it uses gasoline, how much fuel does it consume, how can I, how much time it takes, for the fuel to be consumed, how safe is it, does it have seat belts, for example. But when with an AI system, it's like, when you ask the question, how fast does it go? It goes fast. They will not be able to tell you how fast. Is it secure? Yes, but you have to be careful on some cases. So there's not always a clear-cut answer on these aspects. And this is where the problem is at the moment on the governance side. And I think there is a need to have a discussion, and this is why we host these governance dialogues, because different countries have different requirements. And we saw that, for example, when we did this summit last year, the different AI security institutes, what we see as a security threshold for one country is different for another country. So if you don't have these dialogues at a certain level, we are also going to be having the same discussions, in the future as well. So having those dialogues to share, those concerns and to share, what we feel is a requirement, I think this is the place that we need to start first.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thomas, you want to have a last word?
Yes. I think everything that has been said revolves around one thing, really, that is quite crucial, is how do we foster trust? People will say, that sounds, easier said than done. Trust is so abstract. I think, there are two elements of fostering trust around technological change. One is pedagogy, really explaining what is behind that science, to a broader public, and that's, the work of academic scientists and, people who do translational work, and the storytelling element, meaning what is in it for people, so that they really understand what are the benefits for society and the benefits for them as individuals. And I think if we can balance those two elements, the pedagogy element, the storytelling element, we can foster trust.
Thank you very much. Thank you to all of you for this wonderful icebreaker, which was quite deep, I think quite tangible, to help us now launch into our discussions. And I'll pick up on several of the elements that actually are I would say the backbone of the GESDA methodology on how to think about this and how to act on the future to build the present. So the idea of having in front of you people that are different to you, people that you wouldn't normally meet, people from other countries and other sectors. Sometimes this needs to be engineered. And we have come up with this methodology, which we call the anticipatory situation room that Daria back there invented. And this is what we found to be effective in starting to address, to build that trust, to understand each other, to breach those mindsets, and then start this common discussion. The other thing is that if we can anticipate what we're going to need to discuss in the future, we can discuss it in a bit of a safer and less, the stakes are lower, when the thing is not here in front of us, when the stakes are lower. So that's the space, that's the window of anticipation that we can leverage. But this, we need training, we need to be skilled in that. It's not natural, it's not automatic, it doesn't happen passively. So today, right now, you're all going to launch and immerse into the GESDA anticipation experience. Do not worry about the topic itself. It's okay if you don't know anything about it, but you have all the materials in front of you and we'll be helping you. My colleagues are here for you, hosting one of each table. So Daria, Marilyn, Annabelle, Martin, Ninian, and Ian are going to help you navigate through this. And before we go into our exercise, I want to ask you a quick insight. There will be some QR code from Ole, because we don't have time for questions and answers, unfortunately. Can you please scan this and give us your quick insights that you have learned from this wonderful panel? So with that, thank you all so much for being with us and for sharing your valuable perspectives. Applause, please. So I invite our speakers to please join the exercise if you have the time, and see if you can find a table or a free seat. And we'll give everyone a minute to give us their insights, because what you tell us now is going to be captured by Ole. So please take a minute, get a coffee, but send us your reactions on the QR code.
Very briefly, the overview, right, of what they were expecting.
Yes.
It's helpful, like that you're setting the stage, that everyone has heard it already.
Exactly.
Once, then we try to.
Hey, Martin. So good to have you. So great to be here. Thanks for supporting us always.
Did you say that there were IE people here?
If you would like to change your topic, okay. Good, huh? Nice. Yeah. Good energy. But now
I think now people need a break.
Yeah, I was going to say.
chat today. Let's get together. I'm going to be in town to the next week following week.
We are finished with the panel, right?
Yes. So let's get together.
Later or after break, we're going to do this.
I will teach people to sit down. We're losing them. Please sit down at your tables. We continue the session.
Oh, I thought we were supposed to get up.
No, we're going to continue working. Please sit down. Please take your seat, please. Can I ask you to take the seat? Yes?
Yeah. We have actually.
Oh, are we? Please come in front. Because I am lovely. Thank you so much for your message.
Okay. I need to get it. If you can please sit down, thank you.
Of course, don't worry. Please have a seat. You can sit here.
Please take a seat. I know you want all to continue networking.
Please have a seat. Get closer. You don't have to sit here. You get closer. We need to get our table.
Please take your seats. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Facilitators are aware of the charts out there.
Yes. Thank you for sitting. If you want to change your topic, you can find a seat at a new table if you don't like the topic that was on your table originally. But please do this very quickly. The purple ones are quantum and AI. All the topics are equal. Yeah. We switch to the. Okay.
So people, I think, now starting to.
Do we have enough people in each table? Okay. So just for a quick overview, in this table, so this is full, quantum and AI. This table is about climate geoengineering and orbital environment. This table over there is neurotechnology, cognitive enhancement, and synthetic biology. Same as here. Quantum and AI again. Food systems and artificial life. Is everyone well situated? Yeah? If I can ask my GESDA colleagues to pick a table to host. Herding cats. If I can have your attention, please. Can I have your attention, please? Yeah. Okay. Welcome back to the anticipatory situation room. Thank you, Michael. Call to order. So, what we're going to do for the next hour or so, less than that, 45 minutes, is to give you a glimpse of what it is to immerse yourself in the GESDA anticipatory situation room. You have on each table, 2 radar books, the thick 2-kilo books, and some cards that you have decided to focus on, some of the radar dots. In the back of the card, you can see the description of the topic and what is anticipated on this topic in 5, 10, and 25 years. So take a moment to read those. It is not obviously comprehensive, what we can fit in half a page. If you want to deepen and expand more on this topic, please open the radar and find the color. They are conveniently color-coded, so if you want to know about quantum, you know that it's purple, so go to the purple section. If you want to know even more, scan the QR code on the card, and it will take you to the radar section on this topic. And if you want even more, we have a radar AI that is inside the radar, so you can ask questions. So for example, what does this synthetic biology mean for my country, for my institution, for the future of diplomacy, whatever question. So use the radar AI to guide you in the conversations. So we're going to have 3 parts of 10 minutes each. You see Ole pasting flip charts. We're going to collect the outputs. It's important that you identify one person early on in the group that's going to report back. So please identify whoever wants to be our rapporteur, not the GESDA person, please, so one of you. And you're going to go through these 3 steps. First, you're going to see the future. So you're going to look at your cards. You're going to understand what is coming in the fields that you have in front of you. And you're going to identify the topics that are more relevant for you collectively as a group, or you can also divide in subgroups. For example, you guys have AI and quantum. You can say, oh, 3 of us are working on AI, 4 of us are working on quantum, as you wish. And the same for others. So you have more than one topic to choose from, or you can have a collective discussion about what topic. The second part is you're going to think about how the scientific advancements are going to impact geopolitics, society, environment, technology, economies. And there are some questions here that you can guide, but you don't need to follow this to the literal, because it's, of course, we don't have time, but it's really about this idea of what's going to change, what are the opportunities, what are the risks, how do we steer things in advance towards what we want to be, or what we agree to be positive or beneficial. And what's important here, this question is, what are the gaps in today's systems that, if are left unaddressed, are going to prevent us from maximizing the benefit of the field of science that you have in front of you. And once you've done that, you're going to take out your pens and write down some concrete actions and ideas. And then your rapporteur will go to the flip charts and hopefully fill that up for Ole to then represent visually for us in our output. And so what could you do today? What is your anticipatory commitment that you could take today? That you could go back to your country, your government, your institution, and say, hey, we can do this in the next 6 to 12 months. Of course, this is approximate, but how can you future-proof your strategy? What do you need to stop doing today, because that doesn't bring you to a positive future? And what capabilities, partnerships need to be developed and cultivated today? So this is a lot of work. We don't expect you to get it all done. It's really for you to experience, and hopefully you can leave Davos with an anticipatory move. So identify what is the concrete anticipatory move you're taking from Davos. Annabelle, you have some messages also? Yeah. You have toolkits, so you have markers, drawers, so you can be creative as you want. You can draw things, as Thomas said. You can mimic things if you like in your report back. You don't need to write it down. And so our colleagues, the GESDA colleagues, Annabelle, who do we have here? Michael, of course. Now you became a moderator. And here we have Marilyn, but needs to leave early. Daria, probably you go there. Ninian, Martin, Ian, and that's it. Okay, so. And we have some also alumni from our programs that can also help you if you are lost. Please start with a round of intros. If you do the intros, be very quick. Just name, affiliation, sector, country. Really 4 words. Don't spend the whole half hour on introductions. I know you're all very interesting. Sorry? Yeah, exactly. All right, have fun and enjoy.
say this is one consideration. Is the potential right for us to get into this? This is a different perspective than academic or basic research. Because I personally think you should go exactly after those things which are in for a long time, and the industry comes in and kind of you see a market potential. Because at the end of the day you can really invest in things where they have been here. So this is number one. The second dimension I'm looking the stuff in the field and so on. So that's where I'm coming from. And this balance, I think we always have to look at the
Yes.
Done before you
so
have
that
any
is
framework.
that is
you
another
have anything.
breakthrough. So,
Yes.
so science on pros and cons.
We have 5 minutes left. If you can please write on your flip charts your conclusions. Thank you.
So, yeah. So,
If you can start filling out the flip chart as
so let's think about, okay, we now have the multilateral agreement and we have the science advanced.
I'm so sorry, I have to go. It's
All right.
11:45. Sorry. But thank you for taking one for the team, the journalist writing.
You want us to sort of join over the other tables, or you want to stay here?
We started, so let's continue.
Perfect.
The opportunity. So opportunity.
If I can ask you to capture some of the
on the multilateral approach. I don't know what making this a subject or just lobbying for it, perhaps, or understanding maybe this first, maybe the science first.
Thank you.
We probably don't have to say how we get to an agreement, but just there is an opportunity for it.
There's an opportunity for, but in order to have that opportunity, number one is to know what science is. Like the IPCC, we need to create some sort of science-based pool in order to make sure that this makes sense. Because without proof, it wouldn't make sense to have then a multilateral agreement. So one opportunity. Develop a report or something like that.
Yeah. Over there, so hear each other.
And they will report back.
Science-based.
Discussion later about how do you see this exercise and maybe you have ideas. Okay, 1 minute left. Please finish your flip charts. 1 minute. 1 minute. 1 minute. 1 minute. Did I hear that you are?
No, but I like it.
I was doing a conference. Right there. No, my base is here.
My bag's
Okay, yeah. Super. So let's get your cut in case, because that was you agree to meet and then like a big vacuum. Exactly, and you get run over by something else. Okay, 1 minute. Now this is for real. 1 minute. Get ready for the reports. Just an action.
Let's see, you have a question?
Yeah. Okay. So because the colleagues have to leave, we're going to start.
Most of the main national newspapers, they still have like science departments. Like they have like at least one science reporter, and they're really into this stuff. And then of course we have the science publications. But the mainstream newspapers, like the number one, number two, in every country in Europe, they still have like.
Time's up.
And they're really
You look like you are the most ready of all. So we're going to start with you. Okay. Thank you all so much. It was the most energetic and vibrant discussion I've seen in a while. And I hope this will continue beyond this room and beyond this session. It was just a little taste and glimpse of what we do at GESDA. Let's take a minute each table to report back. And we will start with Nina on this side.
Thank you. I mean, we had synthetic biology we had synthetic biology and neurotech in one discussion, in 20 minutes, so you'll have to take it for what it is. I think, and now have 1 minute to summarize, so it will be high level. But I think everyone in this room probably knows that the kind of revolution that is happening on the technology side in life science is truly remarkable. So the opportunities of whether it's BCI wearables, brain, thank you, and AI-enabled drug development and so on. Yes, thank you. The opportunities are endless for personalizing care, for improving care, so on. So we maybe don't need to explain so much on that, but we see the risks around if you don't regulate these things. What the misuses are, I guess, also fairly clear to people. So we see the need of engaging on governance, as we heard on the panel, and we see the need for the scientific community to communicate differently, less about all the science geeky cool stuff that some of us love, and much more we heard about the storytelling on why this is actually good for people, to remind the community at large that AI is not only dangerous, it can also really save lives. I think I'll stop there. Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Nina. If I pass the mic. Is this group ready, Olivia? Yep.
Topic?
If you can repeat the topics when you start. So
okay, yes, sure. We had generative AI, and we decided to take a concrete case with humanoid robots, an agent that can decide by itself. So you give the agent a prompt, clean the house or take care of the animals, and they will do that. It was not so easy to do the anticipation exercise. We stayed a long time talking about the closest case. The closest case, so autonomous vehicles. But we really try to go a bit deeper and explore. So when we talk about early signals, it was the sense of responsibility of the humanoid robot, the morality, the ethics, the governance also. We made parallels again to autonomous cars. So for example, how does the agent decide where will you steer? Away from the child or away from the aged person, for example. When we talked about opportunities, we imagine, okay, a humanoid robot, how can it serve the field of education, for example? So Thomas was saying, complement my job, complement the marking, the grading, for example. The risk is in that field, replacement of jobs, perception of maybe being lazy. He said that his students wouldn't appreciate that at the moment. In business, humanoid robots, we can talk about reliability, about precision. This is actually already happening with systems that accompany pilots, for example. There we talked about trust and transparency. Those are some risks. Then we talked about humanoid robots in diplomacy. In my case, I would love an agent that could help me collect data, do the monitoring, all these things, the reporting. Actually, we already use some of these things. But then can you trust the agent with sensitive information? Then there is maybe a risk of cybersecurity breach in the field of diplomacy. Then we talk more so about society. And there we thought, how can the humanoid robot be in a room, for example, network with people, build connections, And we said that we're not already there. So this is our action, probably, to better understand the emotional part of the humanoid robot, the emotional intelligence, how they connect with people. Yes.
Thank you so much. Great. Hopefully your robot doesn't replace the networking that has to happen in person, right? Otherwise, why we're here? John.
Okay, our group was ecology, modified, and artificial life. We've got a lot of input here. Some of the observations, breakthroughs, signals, et cetera, that lead to opportunities and risks were that in the future it would be less about maximum yield and more about sustainable, healthy systems leading to more encouraging biodiversity, more emphasis on climate resilience for soil, water, and biodiversity. Another is that in the future, not just be about food, but also distribution and energy, more about systems thinking. Another was diverting agricultural waste to energy, specifically bio-waste, diverted to something that would be more productive, more diverse energy sources. Another one was the combination of artificial life in agriculture, robots, and robotic use, biomimics, and precision farming, and that vertical farming would be or is done with robots. Another one, there was discussion around the ethical dimensions and opportunities and risks and agency, and that not just factoring in how humans benefit from and use the land, but also voiceless entities, essentially lending voice and agency to the thousands of species that would be affected by human decision making. And then also social aspects around farmers' livelihood, and the use of AI, foreseeing the use of AI to navigate climate shocks, particularly with smallholder farmers as an opportunity. Discussion a bit about, in my phrasing, was unintended consequences, but one person brought up the issue of precipitating the extinction of pollinators and knock-on effects as a risk. And I can go on. Okay. Well, I'll just to be quick, there was more discussion about indigenous crops, and that will be used to leapfrog the future. There was discussion about circular economy, rural farming with robots, and food shoots. That's about it.
Thank you so much, John. Well done. Yes, next table.
Yeah, so we had the topic Future of Generative AI, and we first had a more introductory discussion on the breakthroughs. So typically, all the very AI generated, like Grok from Elon Musk, ChatGPT from Sam Altman. We really liked, analyzed a bit the different models. And even also like the models of Wikipedia and everything. And so we really said, we are really in an area where there is extreme exponential rapid changes. So we have this kind of urgency that we are seeing. We also discussed that on the signals, anticipation is important, but is not always working, actually, and that education, like universities, that we see as signals, but also as risk, often lag behind. You are not able to be really up to date on those new rapid exponential changes. And so from the opportunities here, we saw especially the fact that we have so much information that this can also be like an opportunity, this fragmentation of really information that you have, that you really build up like niches. And we also talk, for example, when you have a university diploma and then you, a very good master, whatever, but then you need to be up to date. You need to learn every day, so you need to listen to leaders that are sharing insights on important topics, digital topics, podcasts and everything. So basically it's not enough to have that diploma at university. You really need to upskill all the time, basically. We also... Where? Here?
Who's not in the conversation?
Where is it?
You can step in if you like. Huh?
It's just really important, so maybe that's what I wanted to add. Who's not being included in the conversation? The Wikipedia conversation came up because who's putting the information in? I mean, Jimmy Wales actually spoke to that himself, saying, well, it's very American-dominated, white male, and so what can we learn? So what Bettina was saying in the panel, and looking back to look forward, is quite urgent, right? Because we have so many learnings beyond history, but also in terms of indigenous communities. There's so much wisdom that's not being fed into the new models, right? So again, let's use Wikipedia as a learning, because that was not present. So languages are being lost, knowledge is being multidimensional thinking. And so all of that, we were very engaged on that. But it was complex, there's a lot going on. You're taking notes. I just wanted to add, because I think it's important, and it didn't come up yet, so.
Thank you. And we also have, we discussed on the risk, the fact that, we told them poor communities in the fact that with AI we are influenced sometimes and not aware of the real, also from the education, the social media when you consume it. We reflected on those multiple angles that you can then really have. We also have, all this is actually also related to the fact that, we have a kind of anxious generation because of those exponential changes and access to information. So you don't know what to consume. Are you up to date? This could be even related to our third topic, related to AI is redefining our work structure. We talked about our skills in 10 years, which one would be relevant. We even took a bit the more philosophical angle where we said, what's our value of work? Or we are all defined by our work or position, and what does it happen if, in 10 years this doesn't, is actually like that, and we are a bit replaced by AI and everything. So, maybe only education and critical thinking. We also have and more awareness and upskill the knowledge is very important. Okay. Yes.
Thank you so much. Sorry to cut you short. Nobody has chosen quantum, but if you stay until the end, you'll see a surprise from GESDA about that.
So I'm going to be very short because I know that you are all looking forward to the lunch. So our table was fascinating. We had different perspectives from business, from professors, from academia, and we were supposed to discuss thoroughly around synthetic biology and neurotechnology. But I guess one of the key messages that we wanted to share is that on our vision, we have a very European vision, but I think it's also applicable to other regions, is that it's very important that you keep control of your innovation potential within your country and not leave it to other countries, because then you really lose all these potentials to develop new technologies. We also mentioned the fact that it was very interesting with regard to these two topics, is the fact that actually humans always are looking forward to new enhancements. So it's something that is very human. So when you think about signals, it's very natural. And I guess to echo as well, Mr. Schwan, is that the fact that also you have to look about the market potential, because we are representative from academia, but also as well when you need investments to support innovation. So also you need to think about this market potential if you want your solutions to be accessible to the greater public. So I guess I could end on this, and thank you very much.
Thank you so much for the great summary. And now, last but not least, you have a mic.
Hello. Well, we chose the challenge of climate geoengineering, and we had a few people around the table, really a few, who were mostly into business. And so perhaps the perspective that we bring is a little bit more sort of how does business look at all of this. What we realized is that when it comes to a technology like this, which is basically fundamentally a global technology affecting the entire planet, that for business the first thing really on their mind is simply how do we adapt, and that sort of shows also perhaps a little bit the disconnect between the advances in science and the ability of companies to really play on them. What we realized is the real breakthrough would be, first of all, the scientific advance. And secondly, related to that, since it's a global technology, if there was a multilateral agreement about how to deploy the technology. Very briefly then on how the choices and opportunities to be made or to be had, companies really do need to ask themselves, how does this affect us? And spend some time thinking both about the risks and the opportunities, and then specifically after that, is there any ability or need or possibility for us to invest in this or to fund this, and then to generate positive outcomes out of that. We talked about a lot more. I'm sure Annabelle is very disappointed that I'm not going to take more of your time to tell all of the things we still discussed. But like you, I'm hungry. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Big round of applause to all of you for this amazing work in record time. So before we close, we want to take you through this is an exercise that actually has happened and has delivered concrete outcomes in the real world. So it's not just theory or just talking. So GESDA incubated what we call the Open Quantum Institute in Geneva, which is housed at CERN. That means in 2021, we took the radar and we saw that quantum technologies had the potential for immense opportunities for drug discovery and for climate materials. At the same time, huge security and geopolitical implications. So how do we make sure this technology is not concentrated in a few companies or countries if we allow the trajectory to follow patterns like any other trajectory that has happened now earlier? So we took this exercise for 18 months with the business leaders that are building the quantum computers, the governments, the international organizations, the ITUs, the WHOs, etc., and the researchers and the scientists in quantum. And we delivered this first ever anticipatory science diplomacy instrument, what we call it. And this is a blueprint that hopefully can be applied to all of the topics of the radar that you have in front of you. So all the information is in all these QR codes. Not going to take more time, but really we would love for you to continue to engage with GESDA. Those that are new to us, please reach out. We have all these anticipatory trainings around the world. We want to work with all of you, co-create this together, what it means for your sector, for your country, for your institutions, for your university, your business school, your diplomacy school. Please reach out. We're going to be this year in China, India, Canada, Kenya, a few more places. And this is where we've been so far. But this really is having a very good reception around the world as a necessary dimension of leadership. So let's use the future to build the present. Join us in June for the Geneva Science Diplomacy Week and the GESDA Summit, where we come together and we debate all these topics with thousands of people in Geneva. With that, thank you so much, speakers, participants, and see you very soon. Thank you so much. And thanks to Intent, thanks to Stephanie and everyone that made this possible. Thank you.
No, listen, I appreciate that you...
now you are swimming.
Let's put it up.
You're right.
It's like candy. It's like easy.
No, this was good. This was good.
But I'm not... But you see, it's painful.
Let's put it up so they can see.
Yes. No, it's a...
Because they have to work. Yeah. And it's so abstract. And that's our bottleneck.
Yeah, because you can get really interesting conversations, but it's true, people need to take the time, of course.
But they would like to have a private sector working right now. So the format is like, so what carries that around?
Right.
So we're thinking about changing this, but there's so much wisdom in this book.
Más cosas en común tenemos.
And it's all from scientists who are objective.
Vale.